Our Oregon Adventist Men's Chorus was privileged to do a singing tour in eastern Ukraine in June of 2017. Due to the invasion of Russia in 2014 in eastern Ukraine and the occasional ongoing skirmishes there, it was thought that it would be best to do a tour of western Ukraine, but God had other plans.
Лев Вертило.
The local conference president, who had extended the original invitation, was living in Donetsk at the time and convinced us that the people who were living in eastern Ukraine were the ones that needed the spiritual encouragement the most. A tour itinerary was arranged. If you were to study this map, you would recognize that most of the cities have been mentioned in the public news media during the current invasion. Once the various groups arrived, we traveled to the campus of our Adventist College and Adventist Seminary in Bucha, a suburb of Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine. We observed that the campus was in a beautiful setting of tall trees, manicured grounds, and colorful flowers. The Oregon Adventist Men's Chorus met for worship one morning in the school chapel. It was a building that also included the school cafeteria where we ate all our meals. Here are some of the pictures of the other buildings on campus: the girls' dorm, the administration building, which includes multiple classrooms, and the Euro-Asia Division headquarters. In front of that building is an architectural depiction of additional buildings that were to be built on the campus. That architectural depiction has become a reality since we were there. The campus also included an outdoor amphitheater that appeared to be used recently for Vacation Bible School, and a new gymnasium, which had just been used for their recent graduation exercises. It was also the place where our combined choruses met for rehearsals. The highlight of our time in Bucha was the practice sessions with instructions and worships in at least 3 languages: English, Romanian, and Ukrainian. Surely you are aware that numerous media outlets have reported the brutal civilian killings and atrocities committed in Bucha. So how has the campus and its occupants fared? What do we know at this time? We know that about 240 internally displaced persons, mostly women and children, were being sheltered at the Adventist University in Bucha in March. Students and displaced persons were later evacuated from the university before a massive attack. Pastor Victor Begas, who was our transportation coordinator in Ukraine, was severely physically assaulted by Russian soldiers while negotiating with them for an opportunity to evacuate a bus with people from Bucha. He sustained serious injuries to his leg. We pray for his healing. A number of bombs landed and exploded on the college's campus, but all the buildings basically remained intact except for broken windows, doors, and roof damage. Other educational leaders revealed more details. Almost all of the furniture was left, such as desks, chairs, whiteboards, etc. But looting with traces of hooliganism did occur, said Andriy Shevchuk. Computer screens were broken, and cars that were on campus had their tires punctured and their windows smashed. Although all of these students were safely evacuated from Bucha, not all of them could leave the country. Due to martial law, men aged 18 to 60 had to remain in Ukraine. About 30 of male theology students are at an Adventist youth center in the western part of Ukraine because they couldn't leave. There they take care of 97 internally displaced orphans and study when they can. So the Bucha campus may reopen by September 2022, provided there are sufficient resources to make needed repairs and it's safe to return to Bucha. Landmines must be cleared and water and electricity still needs to be restored to the community. We are sincerely grateful to all of those supporting Ukraine during these tough times, says President Shevchuk. We are praying for your families so that God will pay you back and bless you abundantly for your benevolent needs of mercy. What a welcome the chorus received as we arrived at the little 35-member church in Mariupol. The church had purchased an old Jewish synagogue and had remodeled an addition. The tiny kitchen was a hub of activity as serving stations were set up in the sanctuary to serve their guests. Some of the food had to be prepared outside. They had a terraced garden area for flowers and a large vegetable garden they put to good use. Though the congregation was greatly concerned about how they could advertise and fill a large concert hall with people, they proudly displayed posters of the men's chorus concert and an upcoming evangelistic series celebrating the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation. God certainly had some surprises and blessings in store for them, as well as the chorus. The local mayor was opposed to the men's chorus holding their concert, and as we arrived at the square in front of the theater/concert hall, it was a carnival atmosphere with a lot going on all at once. There was a parade with a military marching band, dancers and acrobats performing, and they were setting up the stage for a Ukrainian rock star that was to perform at the same time as the men's chorus concert. Due to the stage being set up in front of the hall, we had to go around to the back of the building to enter. As our tour buses pulled up and the singers disembarked in their concert attire, some of the crowd noticed and were curious. As the chorus and the orchestra made their way to the stage, our women's staff gathered to pray, and the crowds came. Soon every seat was taken. People still poured in and sat on the aisle stairs and filled the remaining standing room. It's estimated that several hundred were turned away. I'll never forget the reaction of the audience as the combined chorus sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And as they sang, they stood to their feet. And as the applause died down at the end of the concert, that same number was requested for an encore. And the crowd shouted, "Sing it again! Sing it again!" Again, the audience stood, and this time sang with us. Several in the front rows were waving Ukrainian flags. We had to wonder who was more blessed, the 35-member church, the audience, or the chorus. Mariupol has been one of the most reported on cities during the conflict. We have received several pictures of what's left of the church there, and I can't help but wonder what has happened to the congregation. Ukrainian officials say that more than 80% of Mariupol's buildings have been damaged. Ivan Bolosiuk, an Adventist church member who lived in Mariupol, managed to escape the city in March. Mariupol has become a cemetery, he said. It hurts to talk about it. Bolosiuk said that people were buried in graves near houses, sometimes without even a proper burial, just sprinkled with earth. Ukrainian officials allege that more than 20,000 people in the city have died during the assault. Lev, the East Dnieper Conference president and director of the Ukrainians' men's chorus we toured with, and the good people who serve with him have prepared a video report. Our offering today will go to support their conference center for evacuation and placement of displaced people in Dnieper or Dnipro, depending on whether you use the Russian or the Ukrainian pronunciation. The morning of February 24, 2022 started very early. Around 5 to 6 a.m., we heard sounds of explosions. We first thought it was military training. However, the sound of explosions did not stop. We realized that something very serious was going on. I prayed that morning, "Lord, what should I do?" First of all, I began to think, what will we need when people begin to arrive here? We needed to have the most basic things. As Jesus said, to provide food, clothing, and shelter, to prepare space where a person can stay for a night. That same day, the first people began to arrive at our sanitarium. The first group of 30 people came from the town of Volnovakha. The city of Dnieper, where the center of the Dnieper Conference is located, was not attacked, so we immediately established the hub for all our humanitarian work for the entire conference there. When we started our work, we only had the equivalent of about $34. We had absolutely no money. Pastors in personal vehicles were evacuating church members. We were helping people to board our evacuation vehicles. We brought old mattresses from the storage and placed them on the floor. Later, when we received money, we were able to buy new mattresses. Immediately, I posted on the Facebook page the information about our needs and sent letters to all our friends that I knew abroad, asking if anyone wants to join us in helping people. Within 24 hours, we were able to purchase mattresses, blankets, pillows, and bedding for 90 people. Now we even have bunk beds. We are providing 3 meals for all people who are staying in our shelter. Thus, we were able to help more than 1,000 people, hosting them here. Every day was a step of faith. We were planning. We were promising people that we will be able to help them even when we had no money yet. We began to realize that we need a storage space for supplies. We found a warehouse that very quickly was not sufficient for us to store supplies and clothing. It would not be suitable available for people to individually select what they need. We found another warehouse. Now we have 3 warehouses and are planning to get the 4th warehouse to store necessities and clothing for civilians. Most of the volunteers that work here are people who evacuated to us from the Luhansk region where severe military hostilities were going on. From the first day, our refugees began to help us. Our refugee ladies, Svetlana, Miss Olina, decided to help us. They said, "We would love to help with any work in the kitchen." Up until today, both of them are cooking 3 meals daily, from very early in the morning until late at night. We don't have a boss, but we all understand what needs to be done. Everyone knows what their role is. We had so many days when we spent all our money and only 30 cents US were left on our account. We knew that in a couple of hours we would need to make a large purchase of groceries, hygiene items, and would need money to do that. Just in time, we would receive donations on our bank account to make those purchases. We were receiving letters from people whom we never met saying, "We found out that you are doing humanitarian work for displaced people, and we would like to help." We were receiving donations for the exact amount that we needed for that day. Thanks to donations from abroad and local church members, God has blessed us, and we were able to organize a successful humanitarian ministry. If we count all whom we have provided shelter and food for, it would be 2,500 to 3,500 people. We would like to thank all our donors who supported us in this humanitarian work in our conference. We would like to thank all our friends for their support who remember us and send us funds, who value our work. May God bless them. We don't decline any help. You understand very well that providing food for hundreds of people 3 times a day, organizing food acquisitions, sleeping accommodations, providing heating and necessities costs money. Plus, the evacuation of people. Prices for the gasoline and diesel went up horrendously. Any trip on a vehicle cost a lot of money. When any person gives any donation to us, we accept it with deepest gratitude. Thank you. Our washer had broken down. We need it so desperately. We consistently need resources to provide humanitarian aid for people. It is very important to us that the people who began this work will have financial support to continue these efforts. On the other hand, what we really need is that we would finally have peace and that the war would end. This is most important.